Operating self-propelled equipment on a golf course is a big responsibility. You are responsible for the equipment, the turf you are driving on, your personal safety, and the safety of your fellow staff members and the golfers. Some common types of ride-on equipment you may operate in your duties include utility vehicles, golf carts, mowers, sprayers, tractors, and bunker rakes. While this program is designed to provide a basic understanding of equipment maintenance and operation, your supervisor will instruct you on the specific responsibilities and procedures followed on your golf course. Proper machine maintenance is the key to reliable performance. The cost of overlooking key maintenance procedures can cause serious problems. Because preventative maintenance procedures vary between types of equipment and between manufacturers, the owner's manual should be consulted until you are completely familiar with all maintenance procedures. This manual should also be consulted if necessary when adding fuel, oils, or coolant to be certain that the correct fluids are poured into the proper opening. You should make it a habit to look under and around equipment for any pools of liquid that indicate a system leak. If you spot a leak, immediately report it to your supervisor or technician. Engine maintenance is perhaps the most important factor in maintaining reliable performance with minimal repair costs. Oil lubricates the engine internally to prevent excessive wear and heat buildup caused by friction. If the engine is operated when the oil level is too low, serious damage will result. The oil levels should be checked every day before first startup, according to the owner's manual instructions. Add oil as necessary. Because engine oils have different grades, be sure to check the owner's manual or ask your mechanic for the correct oil. Double-check the oil container to verify that the proper oil is being used. Be sure the pour spout or funnel is clean and free of debris before adding oil. Remember that overfilling can also result in serious damage, leakage, or poor engine performance. If the machine is equipped with an oil pressure gauge or indicator light, understand the difference between a normal and abnormal reading and check it often during operation. The cooling system removes heat from engine parts. If the cooling system is not operating properly, heat will build up and possibly cause serious engine damage. Two types of cooling systems, air and liquid-cooled, are commonly found in turf maintenance equipment. An air-cooled system usually has a fan that blows air across cooling fins on the engine. Heat is transferred from the engine to the air and carried away. With air-cooled systems, pre-start checks should include checking for and removing any grass, leaves, or other debris that could restrict air movement into the intake. Ask your supervisor if you are unsure of the air intake location. Also, visually inspect the cooling fins on the engine. Make sure they are not plugged with clippings or other debris. Clean as necessary. A liquid-cooled engine has liquid coolant circulating through the engine and radiator. A fan draws air through the radiator to cool the fluid before it circulates back to the engine. Coolant levels should be checked with the engine turned off and completely cooled down. Also, check for proper fan and water pump belt tension. If you believe something is incorrect, tell your supervisor or technician. If the radiator cap must be removed to check coolant level, observe all warnings in the manual. Removing the cap from a hot radiator may allow hot water or steam to escape, possibly causing a burn or scald injury. Fixed or removable screens in front of the radiator must be cleaned daily or even more often in dry conditions. This prevents clippings or leaf buildup, which could restrict airflow and cause overheating. Clean the radiator by gently blowing compressed air from the opposite direction of normal airflow, being careful not to damage the fins. Do not use water to clean the radiator. When mixed with water, trapped dust or dirt could thicken into a paste, making it more difficult to clean. Liquid-cooled engines usually have a temperature gauge or indicator light, which should be checked often during operation. If the temperature gauge or light indicate overheating, immediately move your equipment to an out-of-the-way area and turn off the engine to prevent damage. Then contact your supervisor or technician. Before operating the unit, an inspection of the main operating systems, including the electrical, hydraulic, air cleaners, drive systems, and grease fittings is recommended. Check with your supervisor for your exact responsibilities. Electrical system checks usually include checking that the battery is securely mounted, the terminal connections are tight and free of corrosion, and that the wire harnesses and other system parts are secure. When checking the hydraulic or hydrostatic drive system, refer to the owner's manual to determine if attachments should be raised or lowered and whether the engine should be running or stopped when making fluid level checks. Let your technician know if the levels are not correct. Certain equipment may incorporate hydraulic oil coolers. These can be similar to the radiator on a liquid-cooled engine or the oil cooling fins on an air-cooled engine. Oil cooling systems need to be inspected daily and cleaned as necessary to prevent hydraulic oil from overheating. The air filter system cleans air for the engine and should be serviced only as directed by your supervisor. Drive systems should be checked for proper belt tension. Also, check the condition and alignment of all idler and drive pulleys. Inspect belts and V-pulley grooves, making sure they are clean and free of oil or grease, and that they are not badly worn. Remove any debris buildup from the bottom of the V-groove to prevent belt slippage. Your machine may also require periodic greasing. Check the owner's manual or ask your supervisor to determine the service schedules and proper procedures for all grease fittings on the machine. Always wipe off the grease zerks to prevent excess grease from falling to the turf. Finally, thoroughly inspect the equipment for any signs of fluid leaks. Fluid loss can severely damage machine components. It can also be a fire hazard and can cause costly damage to the turf on the golf course. Have all leaks corrected immediately. Today's turf equipment is designed for safe operation and high-quality performance. However, each golf course presents different challenges. There may be hills, wet spots, dry spots, rough terrain, or other obstacles. You will need to make intelligent judgments while operating the equipment to get the best performance under a variety of conditions. You must respect the machine and its potential to cause injury if used improperly or in a reckless manner. To become familiar with the operation of specific equipment, take advantage of information in the operator or owner's manual supplied with the machine, or video training programs which might be offered by the manufacturer. If you have questions about the correct, safe operation of a piece of equipment, get help from your supervisor before starting the job. Contemporary golf course equipment has built-in safety systems designed to reduce the risk of accidental injury during startup and operation. These systems are provided for your protection and should never be altered or disabled. Likewise, engines are often equipped with governors for speed control to protect the engine from over-revving and to control the maximum operational speed. Do not attempt to change the governor's function. It could result in machine damage or unsafe conditions. Prior to starting the machine, confirm that the fuel tank is full. Check all steering and control linkage for signs of excessive wear or binding, which may prevent safe operation. Check the tires for proper inflation, abnormal wear, or signs of damage such as punctures or cuts. Driving on an improperly inflated tire can damage the tire and the turf. Remember that it's much safer and faster to fix a damaged tire in the shop than it is on the golf course. Loose clothing should be tucked in and rings or other jewelry should be removed to prevent them from being caught on moving parts. Begin safe operation by adjusting the seat and any controls before starting the machine. Attempting to make adjustments while driving can be dangerous. Sudden movement of the seat or controls can cause a loss of balance or loss of steering control. Often, larger equipment incorporates a rollover protective structure, or ROPS, designed to protect the operator if the machine rolls or flips. Seatbelts must always be worn on ROPS-equipped machines to keep the operator in the seat, which is the safe area being protected by the rollover structure. On equipment without ROPS, seatbelts should not be worn. They would prevent the operator from jumping free of the machine if it were to roll. When you are ready to start the engine, make sure the transmission and all drive controls are in neutral. Observe the manufacturer's instructions for proper starting procedures. This is especially true for diesel-powered equipment, which have starting aids such as glow plugs that are used in certain conditions. Never use starting fluids or ether unless specifically instructed to do so by the operator's manual. Never run an engine in an enclosed or unventilated area. Fumes from the engine exhaust can make the operator or other workers sick or even cause death. Before moving a unit, check the immediate area for bystanders and obstacles. Warn anyone in the area that you are about to move the machine. Make sure the pedal and parking brake stop the machine smoothly and do not drag when released. If operating an unfamiliar piece of equipment, practice steering, braking, stopping, and starting in a safe area away from slopes and obstacles. It is easier and faster to spend a few moments to become familiar with the controls than to damage the equipment or be injured because of inexperience. If mowing, before cutting an area, check and clear away all debris that may be caught, picked up, or thrown by the mower. Be especially careful if cutting with a rotary or flail mower. Never direct the discharge towards another machine or bystanders. To be a good operator, you should become familiar with the sights, sounds, and feel of the equipment you are driving. This means distractions, such as radios and music headphones, should be avoided during operation so you can devote full attention to the task at hand. When parking equipment, select as level an area as possible to prevent accidental runaway. Lower attachments to the ground, shut off all PTO drives, set the parking brake, and place the transmission in neutral. Never leave a running unit unattended, and always remove the keys from parked equipment if left in a public area. Never allow passengers on single-operator machines. Riders can be thrown from unsuitable seating and may be run over by the machine or injured by cutting mechanisms. When equipment with individual wheel brakes is going to be driven at high transport speeds, lock the brake pedals together to provide even braking to both wheels. Test the brakes at low speeds. If the brakes do not apply evenly, have them adjusted before use. Remember to use slow-moving vehicle signs and hazard flashers if traveling on public roadways. Coasting down hills by depressing the clutch or placing the drive in neutral can result in runaway and unsafe conditions and cause damage to the drive system. Keep the transmission in gear and apply brakes as needed to safely negotiate downhill grades. If equipment has a differential lock or four-wheel drive, make sure both are disengaged when traveling at high speed. The differential lock and four-wheel drive will affect steering control and could be dangerous when traveling at high speed, or can cause turf damage in normal operation. As a safe operator, you must determine proper ground speeds based on operating conditions. You should always be in complete control of your machine. If the area is sloped or rough, speed should be reduced for safe operation and to prevent unnecessary wear and tear on the machine. When driving on slopes, slow down to give yourself more time to stop. Avoid holes or obstacles in the path of your machine. When turning on slopes, always turn slowly and carefully. Whenever possible, turn downhill to prevent weight shift and potential tip over. On mowers, the cutting units are often mounted ahead of the front wheels. That forward weight could cause the rear wheels to lift off the ground when traveling straight down a slope. You may need to operate side to side across slopes to minimize this situation. A good rule for safe operation on slopes is, if you feel uncomfortable, the slope is too steep. Be safe. Find another way to do the job. Cutting performance will also suffer if conditions are rough and ground speeds are too high. The mowing units can bounce and skip, resulting in poor mowing quality and possible damage to the precision cutting units. When driving on the golf course, avoid making quick starts and stops or making tight turns, which could damage sensitive turf. And if possible, avoid operating near ditches, embankments, and holes. Do not follow in somebody else's tracks. This can wear a path in the turf. As a responsible operator, you should pay close attention to the equipment. You must be aware of any sign of problems and mechanical failure. If while operating you observe any fluid leakage, immediately move the unit to the deep rough or onto a cart path, turn off the engine, and contact your supervisor. Remember that gauges do not replace your need to continually observe your machine. You should always be aware of the normal feels, sounds, and smells of the equipment. If you suspect a problem that's not indicated by the gauge, assume the gauge is incorrect, stop operation, and contact your supervisor. Continuing to operate a faulty machine will not make the problem go away, and it may continue to get worse. The sooner the unit is repaired, the sooner work can resume at a normal quality level. If a problem does occur, do not attempt to remove safety guards. This is a job for the mechanic who is familiar with the machine and is trained in the proper problem-solving techniques. When problems are observed, you can help your technician by paying close attention to what you feel is wrong. If the problem is not constant, try to observe the changing factors, which may contribute to the problem. These could include machine load, uphill or downhill operation, braking, starting or turning at high speed or low speed. Many equipment problems start out intermittently and occur only at certain times. Your close attention to these conditions and accurately reporting what you see, hear, feel, or smell can make a big difference in the time required to diagnose the problem and make the necessary repairs. When you are on the course at the same time as golfers, always remember that courtesy is important. Take care to allow golfers to play their round with as little interruption as possible. If golfers approach, pull off the course and out of their way to allow them to play through without distraction. And always be alert to golfers hitting in your direction. Being struck by a golf ball can cause serious injury. Another important step in an effective preventative maintenance program is to thoroughly re-inspect equipment during refueling and end-of-day cleanup. Refueling all equipment at the end of the workday is often recommended to avoid a morning traffic jam at the fuel pump and to prevent overnight moisture buildup in the fuel tank. Make sure you are putting the correct fuel in each unit. Making a gasoline or diesel fuel error is a big mistake, which can result in severe engine damage. Refuel the unit outside or in an area with proper ventilation. Make sure there are no sparks or open flames in the area, which could ignite fuel vapors. Never smoke while refueling any machine. Before refueling, stop the engine and allow it to cool to reduce the chance of fire in the event of a fuel spill. Use care not to overfill the tank. Fuel leakage is a fire hazard and will also kill grass if it leaks to the turf. Clean up any spilled fuel and tighten the cap securely after refueling. Any oil or gas-soaked rags must be disposed of in a proper container to avoid possible combustion. Prior to washing the unit, you may be instructed to blow off loose grass and dirt with compressed air. Then move the unit to the wash area. Set the parking brake and stop the engine. Tighten covers such as fuel and oil caps, and allow the machine to cool before washing. Cold water coming in contact with hot engines or hydraulic components can cause internal damage. Spray off any remaining leaves, clippings, or other debris which may affect machine performance or create a fire hazard. Do not direct water toward any electrical components, the engine exhaust, carburetor, or vents on fuel or oil tanks. After the machine has been refueled, washed, and checked, it can be parked in its designated place for the night. Your job as an operator entrusts you with expensive equipment on valuable turf. Your constant attention is necessary to prevent costly mistakes. And more importantly, your attention is essential to your safety and the safety of everyone around you. When operating any equipment, it's important to use common sense. A few minutes spent learning to maintain and safely operate the equipment while watching for warning signs and reporting problems will pay off, making you a better operator and a more valuable employee.